yes, music is our life, but it is really a vehicle of communication between people. It really is about people.
Welcome to Arts Engines. I am your host, Aaron Dworkin, and I am so excited to have as today's guest, Carlos Miguel Prieto, who is now in the 15th season, I believe, as music director of the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra. He's, of course, a famed conductor all around the world. Musical America recognized him as their 2019 Conductor of the Year. Carlos, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Aaron. This is an honor to be with you.
Awesome, awesome. So great to be able to see you again. And also, I'd like to share that the Louisiana Philharmonic is our co-curator for this show and serves as one of our wonderful creative partners for Arts Engines. So I thought I would just delve right in. And, you know, a lot of orchestras are either discussing or talk about, and people talk about how are orchestras connected or disconnected from their communities. And I know that there's some really important things that you're doing in Louisiana related to this, but I thought I would just start out with this question, which is, do you think that orchestras need to be better citizens within their communities? And if so, how can they do that?
I would say absolutely. Orchestras, and I start with my own orchestras. I don't think we have been doing a very good job, and I think hopefully this is right. But I think this pandemic, this situation, is pushing us to understand that we need to connect now, otherwise, otherwise it's too late. I had been already thinking for several years or several seasons about this, let's say, orchestral model that is stale or disconnected from reality. And how do I notice? Well, first of all, it's disconnected from my kids. It's disconnected from many people in the community that simply don't know about the orchestra. And it's disconnected from the social the social component of New Orleans. If any orchestra has as its audience, let's say, missing an important part of a society, it's disconnected. And I'm not saying that we did anything wrong. I think we just persevered on a route that is a route that perhaps worked half a century ago, where this orchestral model was pretty much based on a certain repertoire and on a certain audience that would not only support it, but also want it. But today, there is just so much opportunity out there, and so much to find in variety. And I'm talking about connecting with different musical genres, with different idioms, with different nationalities, with different age groups, with everything. So New Orleans is the perfect place, but so is Detroit, so is so many, New York, Chicago, wherever. But New Orleans is the perfect place because you kind of find a musician every single block, okay? Or a musical idiom on every single block. And guess what? We have been finding partners where we had assumed that there would be no interest, and vice versa. That they find that the Louisiana Philharmonic are interested in partnering with musicians who normally play on Bourbon Street, okay, but who are very well known for playing in Bourbon Street, and that I have known for 15 years, but have collaborated once or twice. So what we have instituted over the last months is a real partnership with musicians of all kinds in New Orleans, who are, some of them are well known as household names, but some of them are completely unknown other than in their own circles. And what we have found is that including them in partnerships, in advisory groups, in our own programs, is something that we gain from. So next concert that I have in New Orleans, which unfortunately I think will not have an audience, but it will have a virtual audience, will include, or next week's of concerts, we will include a staple like Mendelssohn Italian Symphony, and the collaboration with an incredible band out of New Orleans called Tank and the Bangas. And I don't know if you know Tank, but Tank, you should check her out. She is one of the most supremely talented artists, Grammy Award winner. She's really an amazing creative personality. And so within that same week, we're doing Tank and the Bangas and Mendelssohn. And I'm looking forward to both. We have created also a partnership with a very, very exciting group of composers that represent different parts of New Orleans. One is Courtney Bryan. I don't know if you know, I probably, you know Courtney Bryan. She's incredibly talented. We had already commissioned one piece of hers, and we're in the process of commissioning more. So I'm just giving you some ideas. Of course, all of this is music that I love. It's jazz, it's all kinds of things, but it's music that I thought somehow was more disconnected than what we are going to make it.
So it's amazing that you're creating these connections, building these bridges. And so one of the things that I'm wondering, there are, I'm sure some orchestras out there that are like, well, we'd like to do that, but we're actually either not sure how to, or we're not sure how to do it in a sustainable way. Is there any kind of core principles that you've kind of had in mind as you've built these partnerships that seem to be so successful?
Well, yes, because curiously, in my own country, which is Mexico, I've built these partnerships over the last years, and with Orchestra of the Americas too. And these are partnerships just with sensational artists. And when the partnership is with somebody like Paquito de Rivera or Mariachi Vargas, who really are, sensational world-class artists, well known in their own worlds, then the quality of the music and the quality of the collaboration makes it sustainable because it's just so incredibly good. So I don't think that it's rocket science. I just think it's putting the talent in the same room. It's very interesting to see. When I started with the National Symphony of Mexico, an orchestra that I have been for many, many years with, and we started collaborations with flamenco artists, for example, or with pop artists from Mexico, of maybe a little bit underground, not the most famous people. They would look at them and say, well, we don't really speak the same language. And it took one rehearsal to understand that we really all speak the same language, and that we all gain from this collaboration. And I am amazed at seeing somebody from the jazz world improvise. And I play the violin. I'm not, a hundredth of a violinist than you are, but I try to improvise, and I'm like so limited that I think, okay, there's something wrong if I live part of the year in a city where there is so much music and that I'm presenting to the audience a portion of it and not presenting to them a big, and this has nothing to do with the fact that New Orleans is like a hot spot for jazz. No, because it's also a hot spot for Latin music. And it's also a great place for gospel music, of which I knew nothing of before I came to New Orleans. And now I'm not saying I know, but I've done a lot, and we created a group called New Orleans Black Chorale, and I brought them to Mexico 2 times, and they became sensational hits. I mean, sensational. So much that I told them, you're gonna run out of encores. And they said, how can we run out of encores? We have 4 encores. They ran out of encores, okay? They had to do the encores a cappella. And this is in Mexico City, all right? And when we did this show in New Orleans after we did it in Mexico City. So sometimes it's easier to do the New Orleans show in Mexico City and the Mexico show in New Orleans. But the trick is we really should represent the fabric of our societies in a better way. And I really think that we will. I just see this trend going kind of out of control, and I'm happy to see it.
That is just so awesome. And is there, one of the things I worry about, because this is so exciting and it has, all of this fabric of the role that orchestras can play. What would you say to those orchestras who are like, okay, yes, we want to do it. There are voices in the orchestra say, we want to do this. We're worried about either those constituents of ours or people even who might even be part of our organization, but who have the traditionalist approach of, here's the music we play. That's not our music, right? That viewpoint that unfortunately we might wish wouldn't still be there, but is in some communities or in some orchestras. What would you say to them to either empower them or some way give them a path to respond to those voices?
Well, but first of all, those voices are less, I haven't found that many voices against these ideas, okay? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's our perception, okay? But it's all a matter, I think, of balance and of saying, okay, well, Bach is not gonna go away. Mozart is not gonna go away. Dvorak is not gonna go away. Copland is not gonna go away. We're just adding to the mix. It's like, well, okay, I like paella. Okay, does the fact that I go, eat a great dish of Indian food, does that mean that I will never ever have paella again? No, not at all. So it's just, it's enriching an experience. Most of these constituents have works of art in their homes that are way more diverse and way more forward-looking than the music that we are providing them. So what I do is I do a one-on-one approach, because you end up knowing your board members, you end up knowing your constituents. So basically what I do is I say, okay, what worries you? Is it the fact that, so let me give you an introduction. And you need to speak from the stage sometimes. You need to do your job of communicating so that people don't come to a concert expecting to hear only Mozart and then they get something completely different. This is a back and forth communication thing where, as conductors, as music directors, we also have a role of educators. And it would be completely wrong, and I would say even probably dishonest, for a music director to completely stay away from something because you think that your audience doesn't want to hear it. I think that's like, okay, well, then let me just park there, and that's where I'll stop my learning. But that's not life.
Totally, totally. Absolutely. Could not agree more. So unfortunately, we're just about out of time. One last quick question, because I'm always curious with our guests, you know, with all of the things going on and especially challenges in the world, but even in regular, you know, when things are normal, where do you go to find either your inspiration? Where do you draw strength to overcome the obstacles that might enter your life?
You know, this is such an essential question, because this pandemic has been touching upon exactly this. So where does one get that strength? And I actually have to be very honest with you. I get it from people. Music gives you the strength, but finally, what I found on these long months without performances is that, yes, music is our life, but it is really a vehicle of communication between people. It really is about people. So I draw the strength from my kids, from my wife, from my family, from my parents. I draw the strength from the audience. And I draw the strength from seeing things on TV that touch my heart, from seeing somebody give their life for somebody else, from seeing a doctor or a nurse or something. So I think it's all about connecting people. And even if initially it may not be 1,000 people or 2,000 people, this limitation that we have right now, I think we're slowly gonna make sense of things if we decide to go to the heart of one person, and then two persons, and then three, and then four and five, rather than thinking of this huge idea of selling tickets. I think we have to touch hearts, and touching hearts is finally what it's all about. So I used to think, let's say pre-pandemic, that, you know, we were so lucky, and, you know, music is my life, 130 concerts a year. Wow, great. And I was in this kind of this roller coaster, and this crazy moment led me to believe, first of all, that it's not about the number of concerts, nor about maybe even the quality of these concerts. It's about the people, and how to include more people, and how to connect more people. And since I am incredibly fortunate to work in parts of the world where there is a huge percentage of the audience that's underserved, my own country, Latin America, New Orleans, they're places where 80 or 90% of the population is still to be found and to be conquered. So my goal in the following years is to make those connections. And in order to make those connections, we need to learn from each other. And we need to learn from people who connect with people who are walking on the street, and they need to learn from how, you know, orchestral musicians do their thing. But we cannot keep going on two separate routes, ignoring each other as if we were in two different things, because we're really in the same exact thing. Finally, it's finally all about putting hearts together. And I cannot tell you how much I've thought about this over the last months, and how much energy I get from thinking that we will learn so much new music, that we will connect with new composers, but especially with a new audience.
Carlos, Miguel Prieto, thank you so much. You truly are one of the great arts engines powering human creativity in our world. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, because I admire the work you do so, so much. It's a very, very big honor to do this interview with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. The honor is mine.